What an absolute treat here on a Wednesday. Dubs Anderson for the first 2.5 hours. The final half hour, yours truly, Joe Lisi, ready to step up and in right here on the early line. The vibes are high. We're ready to go. This man loves to talk, and we'll let him talk, Joe. What's up?
I can't wait. We're going to be in studio together on Thursday night. Nothing better, Donnie. So getting ready for NFL action and obviously week number 2 of college football. Nothing better, baby.
Looks like, and some might say, like, Donnie went from 5'10" to maybe about 6'4" on that telecast here. Find out why, and only right here on Pro Football Today. So we're going to have a good time getting after that. But that is Pro Football, Joe, which starts tomorrow, and we are excited. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be intriguing stuff. 8 o'clock, make sure you tune in live, Pro Football Today, in-game live. We're going to be rolling all the way through that game with a ton of bets here. But, Joe, I got a lot of questions in college football. And finally, it feels like it's been weeks, it's been months since a new poll has come out with the AP Top 25. A lot of movers and shakers. Talked about it with Dubsy a little bit earlier today. The biggest movers, USC and Miami. But if we're looking at the AP numbers right now, are we in agreement in that top 5? Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, and Notre Dame. Let's talk big boys first right now.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad top 5. I think clearly on paper, Georgia's the best team, Donnie, in regards to the dominating effort at 34-3 over Clemson, completely shut down Cade Klubnik. They proved from an offense and defensive line perspective that they are the real deal. And Carson Beck is deserving of the Heisman Trophy in regards to, contending for it, right? He completed 23 of 33, 278. I mean, he got started well into the second quarter and then just lit up the Clemson secondary. So I think clearly Georgia's the best team. The one concern I do have, Don, even though Ohio State is deserving of a top 5 ranking, not sold on Will Howard in the consistency in the passing attack. I need to see better throughout the next couple of weeks.
Taking a look at the rest of that top 10 here and taking a look specifically here at the top 10. Number 10, Michigan, with, I guess you could say, if you're looking at the odds market, Joe, right? Closing line between 20 to 21, between where you're shopping at. They won by 20 points, but I walked away from that team in the top 10 going, you know what? Outside of the Oregon game, I thought it was a little bit interesting. Like the win, wasn't all that explosive. 6-point game in the fourth quarter. Are we worried about Michigan this season?
I don't think we're worried in terms of big picture. I think, 9-3, 10-2 is going to be there for the Michigan Wolverines. They do have an identity problem early on in regards to their quarterbacks, Alec Orji and Warren. They struggle with consistency. Rushing attack with Donovan Edwards didn't seem as dominant as they were last year. Were they holding a little in the tank? That was a Fresno State team, Don, that was averaging 305 passing yards per game. So from the defensive side of the ball, you look at what Wink Martindale did. They contained Fresno State. I think they're going to be in each and every matchup. Can they run the football? They have a 23 home game winning streak now. They have Texas coming into their house, and every time they pound the rock for over 200 over the past couple of years, they're 12-0. They're going to need that rushing attack to take over, but I think they're 9-3, 10-2, and they're going to be there for a college football playoff appearance.
And we look at them sitting in that top 10 spot right here, 10th overall, which wasn't too kind to the team that was in that 10 spot the past 2 weeks, and that was the Florida State Seminoles. Now, also a precursor, Michigan's going to take on Texas this week. So if they get bounced, nobody's going to want that number 10 overall seeding. But let's focus on Florida State. As I use the words of Joe Lisi, a gutless performance in the Orange Bowl, gutless over there in Ireland, gutless at home on Labor Day in front of your own fans to jumpstart your season. What happened to Florida State? Or, Joe, are they just not as talented as some people thought? They were 10th overall to start the season.
All right, so let's start with the bowl loss. That was a gutless effort with second and third teamers. They had about 14 players outside of Jordan Travis that opted out for that matchup. So that wasn't really indicative of that team last year that was 13-0 and ACC champs. It carried over to this year. DJU, very inconsistent. The play calling is absolutely atrocious. They do have an identity problem. They can't run the football consistently, and that defensive front seven is nowhere near where they were last year in terms of Jared Versk and Fisk just carrying that team. I think right now, Mike Norvell really needs to step in. He really needs to get into this team. But again, they're 0-2 overall. Season seems lost. Are they out of contention for an ACC championship? Only time will tell, Donnie. I know your Hurricanes are sitting at the top and they're pounding their chest with Cam Ward, but they still have to play Florida State. They're 0-2 over the past couple of seasons in regards to that. Florida State does get Clemson in their house. There is parity in regards to the ACC. I don't want to say dead and buried. They're on life support right now. They need a better effort, and they need to start it week number 3 against Memphis. But this is what happens when you have new pieces in college football and no preseason games.
Here's what I want to ask you, too, about Florida State. We know, obviously, they're not devoid of talent. They're just not playing well at this point. What's the turnaround, Joe, for them? Is it moving on from DJ Uiagalelei, or is it sticking with them and saying, we don't have any backup options? What does Mike Norvell do to say, look, the season isn't over, and if you win the ACC, you're automatically in the college football playoff? What's the next move for Florida State?
Well, the next move is they're going to be facing Memphis, right? And Memphis has got one of the better prices in regards to the group of 5. They're 5-1 shot to win make the college football playoff. They have a very high octane offense with Seth Hennigan. So if I'm Mike Norvell, I want to grind out a victory against Memphis any way possible. We have to get the rushing attack to take over with Cam Davis and Roy Dell Williams. Can we run it on a smaller defensive front? And can DJU obviously work off a play action? If they don't get that victory after against Memphis, Donnie, move on from them. There's no reason to stick to DJU, but they have to try and grind out a win against Memphis, find an identity, and then try to come into form when they face your Hurricanes later in the year in Clemson. Those are the two make-or-to-break-it games. If Florida State wins out and then knocks off Clemson and knocks off Miami respectively, they still have an outside chance to make the championship game.
Look at that, too. Doak Campbell down there trying to make some adjustments, renovate the stadium, sell a lot more high-priced seats. Oh, that's not going to work if you're not winning football games on the field, which the Seminoles aren't doing now. One team that was really impressive this weekend was another ACC opponent. That's the Miami Hurricanes. Went in and took on Florida in the Swamp and pounded them. I was very impressed by what I saw out of Miami. And also, you did get a little bit of resilience in that game with that 70-plus yard touchdown run for Florida. The Swamp turns on fire, and quickly Cam Ward moved right down the field on a 2-minute drill and scored a touchdown to quiet that crowd. Loved what I saw out of Miami, and it looks like a forgiving schedule for them if they do want to win the ACC. Are we buying too much of the Hurricanes, or, Joe, is that hype warranted?
Well, it's warranted if Cam Ward could play the way he did in the Swamp. He was poised, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, looked confident. He made the players around him better, and they fed off of his intensity, right? He looked like he had everything at his disposal in regards to the passing attack. If that continues, Donnie, they're going to be there, right? Offense and defensive lines, they were stepped up. They were able to run the football. The secondary was very opportunistic as well. The schedule lines up for them for at least 10 wins on paper, right? Road matchups aren't difficult. They get their first one under the belt. The problem with Miami is maintaining their focus. We've seen this time and time again, not just out of Mario Cristobal's crew, but even Mark Richt back in the day when they were 11-0 and had a college football playoff appearance staring them in the face. You can't lose to the likes of Pittsburgh. You can't lose to the likes of Georgia Tech or NC State. Can you maintain that focus? That's the biggest question if Miami's going to make a college football playoff. I'm still going to take a step back. I need to see it before I believe it.
Yeah, it should be fun to watch it play out. And me being a Miami Hurricanes fan, I'm telling you, it's been a long time that I sat down on a Saturday to open the season. Like, you know what? They might have something. Does it equate into a national championship? Are they as good as Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, or Alabama? We'll find out. But just having meaningful Hurricane football games into late October, that would be something for me, and I'm looking forward to watch it. But you're right. Cam Ward looked every part the number one quarterback you need him to be for the Miami Hurricanes. We'll see if it plays out.